Hey everybody, this is an instructional video for assignment number 28, Geographic and Historic Context of Imperialism. So we started a new unit in Global about this age of imperialism. Basically your learning target is I can describe how Western European interactions with Africa and Asia shifted from limited regional contact to greater influence and connections due to competing industrialized states seeking control and transport of raw materials and markets. Basically, European countries are starting to have more influence in taking over more parts of Africa and Asia for resources and markets because to help fuel the factories of the industrial system we just talked about. So for this first part, the geographic context of imperialism, you're going to use the slideshow to go along with it. So the slideshow, you have a few different fill in the blank notes that you're going to put in there. So, imperialism, dominate, but basically, imperialism is just the domination of one country by one country, political, economic, cultural life of another country. So, in this, most of the cases, it's European countries taking over parts of Africa and Europe. And by looking at this map, you'll see that, actually, it's a better map. England and France, or Britain, remember England, France, England and Great Britain are used pretty interchangeably, but Britain and France are the two major powers. Like France has most of Western Africa, part over here in Southeast Asia, and then Britain or England has really most of this eastern part of Africa, Australia and India. India is like the big one. It's like the jewel of the crown for Great Britain. So you got some fill in the blank notes. And then for geographic context, you're going to look at the yellow section of the slides. So you go down here and you're going to look at, ask you a couple of questions. So between 1550, 1754, what two European countries have the most colonial holdings? So you look at these maps. So there's 1550, 1660, 1754. So between these three, what two European countries, which are the countries that are in the key there, which ones had the most colonial holdings? Like who controlled the most? Then you're thinking about what continents. So you have to know your continents, but what four continents are, Europe is this one. So what four other ones are going to be controlled by European countries? And then the last two maps, 1882 to 1914, you'll see two different countries really become like the dominant powers around the world. So between those three maps. For the next section, so that's the geographic context. Now I think about the historic context. So like what allowed Europeans to be able to do this? So we have 5 reasons here. For reason 2, just put skip. So in class we skip this. Don't worry about this one. The two major ones I would argue is reason 1 and reason 5. So if you kind of get stuck, at least make sure you try to get through reason 1 and reason 5 because that's kind of the big reasons here. So 1, the first paragraph just kind of overview Industrial Revolution. All this is connected to the Industrial Revolution because you're going to talk about this idea of resources and markets. The social Darwinism one, yeah, actually I got it right off the slide, so you can't even do reason 2. The first paragraph really talks about it. The second 2 paragraphs really mention, if you don't know anything about Darwin's theory of evolution, then you can read this. But the first paragraph really gives it away. Reason 4 is pretty straightforward. It's an easy little paragraph. And then reason 5 is new innovations. First paragraph explains like why Europeans couldn't do this for a long period of time. And then second paragraph's like, hey, there's new inventions or new innovations are going to allow Europeans to take over all these places around the world. So this is a key part here of like why this was able in this period rather and why they couldn't do it in other periods of time. And then your exit ticket is just discussing historic and geographic context of imperialism. For the geographic part, like what continent of people is taking over other places? So like what kind of people is taking over, what the other places? So you want to think about that. And then for the historic context, really focusing on reason 1 and reason 5. What is allowing them? What is the reason and what is allowing this part of the world to take over places during this age of imperialism? All right, I only have 5 seconds left, so I'm going to end this video now. Reach out if you have any questions.